Am I expecting some propaganda in this animated film? Hey everyone, welcome to Princess of Gay. I'm your host Connie, and today we are here with my blind reaction to Animal Farm. This is a donation award for Venom, so thank you as always, Venom. And this is actually a movie I have heard about. I don't know what it's actually about, but I have heard some interesting things, and I have confirmed these things to be true. This is a 1954 animated film, so keep in mind the age as to when this came out in terms of animation and voice acting and stuff. It is based off of a book by George Orwell. Take that in for a second. And take this in. It was partially funded by the CIA. What the fuck does that mean? Why did the CIA partially fund a an animated movie, presumably geared and marketed towards children? I genuinely believe it's one reason: propaganda. This was 1954. I bet you fucking anything that the CIA partially funded this in order to subtly insert propaganda into children's minds at the time. That they did what they did, and that includes making some changes to the script. I know about that as well, in order to propagandize children into these Americanized beliefs and ideals regarding certain topics. Now, like I said, I don't know what this movie's actually like fully about. I do know it's like full barnyard animal characters, but I don't know like what the actual plot and whatnot is. And I've never read the original George Orwell book, so I can't say regarding that. But I'm very curious now. Just the fact that I know that this, was partially funded by the CIA, who did make some script changes, that makes me really curious as to what this is going to be about. I am very curious. This already feels like something that is going to be quite off the rails. Like, I can't imagine how this is going to look from a modern perspective. But that's what we're here to do. That's things I do like to check out. Seeing how movies from the past, especially movies that might have some really wild origins and all, I like to see how I, as a modern person living in 2024, would view something like that. Because obviously I'm going to be viewing it with completely different eyes than someone my age who was living in 1954 would. Like, let's think about that. That was 70 years ago. 1954 was 70 years ago. Jesus fuck. This movie is like 70 years old. It is always weird when you think about how old some movies are. When there's like movies that are literally 100 years old and stuff. But it's like 70 years ago. That's wild. That is so wild. I'm just very interested to see just how different this was. And it's not the first older movie I've seen by any means. My favorite movie of all time is from the 50s, 12 Angry Men. The original 12 Angry Men, of course. So it's like, by no means am I against seeing older movies like this, especially animation. Um, I'm just really curious as to what this is going to say based on the information we have. I feel like there, especially since it's George Orwell as well, I feel there's going to be some messaging in this for sure. um, this should be interesting. This should be very interesting. I don't even know how people like view this movie, if this is well received or not. But we're gonna get into it and see what we have in store for us today. Before we do, though, I want to remind you that we have a lot of great content to check out on this channel. Every Monday through Friday, we have a plethora of awesome series reactions. And on Mondays, we also do YouTube reactions, or at least YouTube adjacent. Anything that really doesn't fit into a series or a movie reaction kind of goes into that slot, whether it be shorts or specials or one-offs, those kind of things. We also do have movie reactions every Saturday and Sunday. Those are recorded during the week, but they're uploaded on the weekends, just so that every day has something going on for it. And the YouTube and the movie stuff are both pretty much always donation rewards from subscribers and viewers like you, but occasionally I'll slip something else in there. Just something I might want to see and don't want to wait for. It occasionally might happen. We also have a couple Let's Plays currently going. On Sundays, Tuesdays, and Thursdays, we are playing through Spider-Man 2. There are some audio issues in the first 9 parts, especially 5 through 9, but we have gotten that figured out, and hopefully it stays that way. And parts 10 and on will be good in regards to that. So, we also are playing through Anno Mutationum on Saturdays. These parts are longer than the parts for Spider-Man because we're only doing it once a week. And this is also a donation reward Let's Play for Matthew Vasquez. If you want to know how to donate for Let's Plays, check out the announcement video for PS5 game reward months. Check out that video and it will give you all the information you need to donate for a PS5 game for me to play in the future. Just a fun way to get you guys even further involved on the channel and maybe have me play some games that I wouldn't otherwise that you want me to check out. So, all of that being said, let's get into the reaction and see what we have in store. So, when the screen fades to black, pause this redirect and go to the description below. Follow the link to the reaction because, yes, we do redirect all of our reactions on this channel. I know it may suck to have to click another link and go off-site just to watch the reaction. It's a lot of extra work, especially when you're trying to binge through a bunch of stuff. But you gotta understand, you know how YouTube is. It's really shit in terms of copyright. And so, just to be safe, I decided it's just better to redirect everything. That way I don't have to worry about any possible copyright strikes. I don't have to worry about, God forbid, the channel getting terminated because I've dealt with that before. Don't want to deal with it again. It is just so much trouble. And so, just to stay safe, I redirect pretty much everything and we kind of go from there. But on the plus side, this means that all of you, yes, every single one of you, will get to see the full reactions for free. No paywall, no Patreon, and you don't even have to sync up your own copy. All you have to do is go to the link in the description below, click it, follow it to the site, and you get to see the full unedited reaction completely 100% free. And I think that's pretty awesome, honestly. Not a lot of channels are able to do that. So this gives you a different experience in that regard. But after you watch it, you can come back here to the redirect and resume play. Because after it fades black and then fades back in, everything from that point forward will be my afterthoughts and will contain spoilers, not only spoilers to the movie, but also just my general thoughts and maybe some thoughts on other things regarding the channel and stuff as well. It's always worth it to check out the afterthoughts just to see all my thoughts on the film itself. But that being said, as always, thank you so much for tuning in. And for now, I will see you at the reaction. And we are back, and we'll begin with spoilers in 3, 2, 1, now. So I looked some things up in between, and it seems like most of it is pretty accurate to the book, with the only big change being the ending. There's a couple smaller changes, like the fact that Mr. Jones, the farmer, in the book, he dies in an inebriate's home rather than in the windmill when it's blown up. In fact, he's not even the one who blows it up in the book. But the only really big change that really changes things, according to most people, is the end. Because at the end, there's not another revolution that happens. It's not like it doesn't go into that entire kind of thing again. Instead, it's just they just notice that the pigs have basically become the same as the original farmer, as the oppressor, basically, and that there's not really any difference in there. But actually, another rebellion never really happens. Kind of changes the entire fate of things in the end. So I noted that the CIA and everything were involved in this, and some of the changes and whatnot were made specifically to propagandize the movie, as I had guessed, and it was specifically for anti-communist propaganda over the time. And mind you, this story was written in that kind of manner in the first place because it was written by George Orwell, who was a democratic socialist, and to specifically satirize and talk about the situations happening with the Russian Revolution and whatnot, and dealing with the entire shit that went down with that, and Stalin's rule and everything, his communist rule over Russia, that kind of shit. And each of the animals, like, obviously representing like different people who existed within that situation. So it's really interesting in its satirization of political events around that time period. And the movie, again, it does change some things around because the CIA wanted some script changes to, fully propagandize. And it seems to have worked because this movie was even played in, like, classrooms and everything, was like a big staple of classroom learning, to, fight the Red Menace and shit like that. And it's just ridiculous. But it's like the messages are very clear here. With the idea of, we're being oppressed by our leaders, so we're going to fight back, we're going to have a revolution. But then certain members of the revolution take control. They take control of the entire thing, and after the revolution happens, after the people have been freed, they take charge and, basically take over that power system to the point where it's like, oh, we were suffering, now we're going to be the oppressors, but we need someone to oppress, we need someone to have that power over, so we're going to segregate us from the rest of the oppressed, the rest of the revolutionaries, kind of going in line with the entire all animals are equal, but some are more equal than others thing. We're going to lead and be the ones to take charge, and we're better than them because we're the leaders. Because the one that inspired this revolution in the first place was one of us, and so on and so forth. And you can see kind of how this would parallel things in the real world. It could parallel things such as coming from a place of wealth. The wealthy, not necessarily super wealthy, but the wealthier of those original oppressed take over because they have the money to, or the smartest of them, or so on and so forth. You get the idea. The ones who have like some level of claim over all the others. They take control and they become the new oppressors. You get the gist of everything as it's told here. And it's very clear, like, this movie is sending a message. And again, the book was meant to do so as well. Like, that was always Orwell's, like, image for this. Again, it was a satire of the political climate of the time, specifically centering around the Russian Revolution. And so it's going to lean into that quite a bit. There's going to be things that it's like, oh yeah, there's some certain good points to this, but then there's also, it's like, you're looking into this a little bit much. And that's just how it goes. They exaggerate for effect to spread the message. And I mean that from both Orwell's perspective and the perspective of the CIA who edited the script. Both sides definitely exaggerated to spread their message. And I'm not saying, like, the people that obviously the oppressors and everything in this were based on weren't bad. And that the new oppressors, the pigs, the people they were based on, weren't bad either. I'm not saying that at all. But with this kind of satire that is specifically selling a message, especially that of propaganda in a way, you have to exaggerate in order to get the point across, especially in a sort of, how would you put it, a cartoonish way like this. That's just probably the best way. It's like you've got to make things look like more insane than they probably appear on the surface in reality. Like, you show it as more of like, oh, this is what it's actually like. And it's like, when if someone were just looking in at the real life counterpart of that, they'd be like, oh, I don't see that. Partially because, you know, they hide it better in real life. And partially because it's a bit exaggerated. But yeah, this kind of idea is also just like a genuine kind of thing. The idea of like a revolution happening, and this has happened throughout all of human history and stuff, where the oppressed eventually take charge and become oppressors in their own rights, in one way or another. And yeah, a revolution can absolutely happen without that occurring. And I'm not, and I don't think this book or the movie, or, well, maybe the movie a little more so, but I don't think Orwell's like, I don't think Orwell was trying to like say like revolutions against oppressive governing forces are necessarily bad, but you have to be wary and attentive to certain types of people who will take the opportunity to seize that power for themselves. Oppressed people who want to be on the other side of the whip, so to say. It's you have to absolutely pay attention to the people surrounding these kinds of revolutions, involved in these kinds of revolutions. That's more what I get from this than, ooh, revolutions are bad. No, I don't see that at all. It's a really interesting. It's a really interesting story, but again, it's very clearly about the message, and that does take away a little bit of the entertainment factor. But it's still there. It's still entertaining to watch. It's still something that I don't have any issue, like getting into. And like I said, it actually like connected me enough with certain characters that it's like boxers injury and eventual, selling to the glue factory and everything actually was like really messed up to the point where it's like that actually bothered me. It actually bothered me. Because Boxer was one of those characters who it's like, oh yeah, he's a good dude. Like, he's putting in extra work because he is trying to help out his friends, his allies. And Benjamin may be a little sleepy, a little dopey, but he's a good dude too, who's also putting in that extra work. And in the end, he's like kind of the best of them, who leads the final revolution against the new oppressors after Boxer's death and everything. And like, there are others you see in this that you feel sympathy for as well. But it's very clear from early on who the bad ones are. Napoleon was very obviously going to be the new villain after Mr. Jones was chased out. Like, it was very clear early on. It's like just the way he was drawn was like very similar in expression and whatnot to Mr. Jones. And that was obviously intentional. I don't think it's supposed to be a big surprise when he ends up being the bad guy. In fact, I think it's actually supposed to be something you're like supposed to key in on pretty much right away. Like, even well before he gets Snowball killed. Like, you're supposed to key in on that he's the bad guy, that there's something wrong with him. I mean, he's literally named Napoleon. There's a little something there. Like, you can get the connections with that and everything. While the good one of the pigs was Snowball. I mean, you think about it. You have a character who's named after a real life like military general who may not have been the best person. And then comparatively, you have his kind of main opposing force, who's very clearly a good guy, who's named fucking Snowball. It's like the obvious difference is obvious. You have a cute name like Snowball, and then Napoleon. And on top of it, Snowball is, more pale in color, a pinkish white, while Napoleon has like the dark stripes and everything, and it's like the colors, the type of like pig that they are, it was definitely chosen to represent that as well. Because darker colors in a lot of media, especially for media like this, very often represent evil. Lighter colors are often used to represent good. Stuff like that. So you definitely see that here. Snowball seemed fine. I had no issue with Snowball. He seemed like he was maybe a little tough, but I had no issue with him. Yeah, I had no issue with the Major, I think his name was, the original leader who inspired the revolution. And then there were some other animals who I don't think were ever named, but you got to see enough of them. Like the cat was there for a bit, ended up getting, violently murdered by the dogs. Like, we actually saw that violent murder. A lot of them were off screen. Like, even Snowball was off screen, but then it's like you see the cat just getting violently like torn into practically. Like, no gore and shit, but still. It's like, Jesus. And kids were watching this in school. That's fun. Getting to see a cat be violently killed on screen. The 50s were a wild time, I tell you. But yeah, there was entertainment to this. There's definitely a message to it, and it's definitely, standard Orwell trying to satirize and share ideals and messages through these kind of allegories. And sure, I mean, nothing wrong with that. I think it works. And again, obviously it was propagandized more than it initially even was. a lot more by the CIA and stuff, but still. Um, definitely one of those kind of movies that it's like I feel like a lot of people should take a look back on and just really think about, really look into and think about it and see what other people have had to say. I'm definitely gonna look that up myself and just give it a fair shake and see like the kind of things it brings to mind for you. It's definitely that kind of movie. It's not like what I would call super fun, but it's entertaining nonetheless. Like it keeps your attention the entire time. And you can even draw some interesting parallels with the dogs, by the way. Just think about it, like the pig, the Napoleon, the new leader, the new oppressor, raises these orphaned dogs and raises them to be his like loyal and aggressive guards. It's like, come on, you can see what that's trying to say, what that's trying to talk about. It's just pretty wild and interesting. But tell me your thoughts down in the comments below. And just as a reminder, we do have a lot of other great content to check out on the channel. Every Monday through Friday, we have a plethora of awesome series reactions and YouTube, or at least YouTube adjacent reactions, every Monday. Just basically things that don't fit into a series reaction or a movie reaction. And speaking of, we do also have movie reactions every Saturday and Sunday. They're recorded earlier in the week, but they're uploaded on the weekends so that every day has something going on for it. We have 2 Let's Plays we are currently going through. On Sundays, Tuesdays, and Thursdays, we're playing Spider-Man 2. Parts 1 through 9 have some audio issues, just letting you know if you're just going to start getting into that. But starting on Part 10, the audio issues are pretty much fixed, and we should be good going forward. And on Saturdays, we are currently going through Anno Mutationum. This is a donation reward Let's Play for Matthew Vasquez. If you want to know how to donate for a PS5 Let's Play, check out the announcement video for PS5 Game Reward Months. You can do a quick search on the channel. It's easy to find. And yeah, you should be able to just watch that for all the info on how to donate for a Let's Play in the future. That being said, thank you all so much for tuning in. Like I said, let me know your thoughts down below. And for now, I'm Connie and I'm signing off. See y'all next time.